I was at a very, very low point in my life, probably the lowest point. And I was always struggling with feelings of depression and feelings of anxiety. And I remember at the point I was at, I didn't think that I wanted to continue living, essentially. And then I remember really feeling like, okay, I am ready. I'm really ready for a teacher because at that point, I had tried what I thought was everything. I had done talk therapy for years, tried the plant medicines, meditations, podcasts, which are great tools, but I had realized that all of it kept coming back over and over. Like I was never actually healing at the root level, and now that I actually understand it at the energetic level, I was just at a very low point, and I asked the universe, and I asked Source, and I said, I'm ready for a teacher. And then not even a week later, Ellie's videos popped up on my feed.
We use the same phrases, the same words in the collective, in all these other modalities or the spiritual matrix. It was learning to let go of all of that, and then also having ego deaths about it. And then also, as someone that has functioned so much from the mind, getting down to like the feeling aspect of what the energetics behind these words are, and it's not what you think it is. The first couple months, it was like me having an ego death about what I think I know because I was so confident in what I knew.
A part of me just like knew there was just something there that I was like, I might as well give it a shot. I felt you asked for it, here it is. Are you going to take it, or are you going to continue repeating the same pattern that you've been repeating for your entire life? And so I did it.
Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Masters of Self University podcast. I'm your host, Ellie Lee.
And I'm your host, Danny Morley.
And today we are joined by two newly certified mystical coaches of oneness. Everybody give it up for Anne and Amber.
Woo!
Anne and Amber are, just like I said, are two new team members of our team. I had the honor of being in the Mystical Coach of Oneness certification with you guys. And so I saw your evolution and your journey from day one to day whatever it is when we finished. And I've also seen you guys, coaching and do your thing and growing in so many spectacular and beautiful ways. And for everybody at home, if you don't know what the Mystical Coach of Oneness certification is, it's where all the mystical coaches get certified. We go through a process, we go through a journey, okay, where we get taught by Rachel Fiori how to really be certified in this work. So if you're a student or you're someone who's never been coached by us, one day you will, and you'll see, oh, man, they've been on a journey to do this and become this, and we have. And so today we're going to go into really what it looks like to be certified and, where we're going to go from here, because this is a job, I think I can speak for all of us, that we take very seriously because it's here to really help the world in so many ways. And so my first question to you guys is this: what drew you into the certification program when there's a million certification programs out there?
Well, so I started as a student, so that's kind of how I got drawn in. And then just to give a little bit of a backstory, like I mentioned to you guys before, I was at a very, very low point in my life, probably the lowest point, and I was always struggling with feelings of depression and feelings of anxiety. And I remember at the point I was at, I didn't think that I wanted to continue living, essentially. And then I remember really feeling like, okay, I am ready. Like I'm really ready for a teacher because at that point, I had tried what I thought was everything. I had done talk therapy for years, tried the plant medicines, meditations, podcasts, books, which are great tools, but I had realized that all of it kept coming back over and over. Like I was never actually healing at the root level. And now that I actually understand it at the energetic level. And so it kept coming back. And I remember I was just at a very low point and I asked the universe and I asked Source and I said, I'm ready for a teacher. And then not even a week later, Ellie's videos popped up on my feed. And I remember being like, whoa, this girl is speaking truth, like everything you're saying. And then you just kept popping up on my feed over and over. And then I went, watched a bunch of your videos. And then that's when you were speaking about Rachel, your teacher, Rachel. And then I went to Fiori's page. And it was like as soon as I heard her, I was like, it was just like, boom, there it is. And I kept listening and I kept feeling what she was saying. And I was like, whoa, like this woman, she's speaking truth. She's not afraid to speak the truth. She's speaking about things that people aren't speaking about. And she's doing it with her whole heart. And I was like, I've always really connected with that. And so I registered for a free student enrollment meeting, went to a student enrollment meeting, and I like looking back, I was running all my programs of scarcity and like like you said, there's so many coaching programs. And I was like, oh, well, this wasn't the coaching program, but just getting into MSU, I was like, there's so many of these. But a part of me just like knew there was just something there that I was like, I might as well give it a shot. And it was also like, I felt you asked for it, here it is. Are you going to take it or are you going to continue repeating the same pattern that you've been repeating for your entire life? And so I did it and I was like, let's do this. And so it was actually within the Power Within class when I was being coached by you, Ellie, and Trey Lore, one of the other mystical coaches. And I had one of the most transformational healings of my entire life. And I remember something in me was like, oh, this is what I want to help people to do. Because I've always been very drawn to, I knew I was going to help people in some way. I went to school for psych for a few years. I was planning on like going into psychiatry, like I was going to do all of that stuff. And being in the school system, it was great because it really taught me that the school system isn't actually there to help people. Um, I just learned a lot there, just seeing how we place people in boxes and we put labels on them. And then it's not really, again, healing or helping them at the root. And so when I saw that you guys also had like a coach's certification, it was just, that's what drew me in after experiencing what you guys had brought me through. I was like, this is what I want to help people do.
Amazing. Amazing. And I will never forget the first time you came on screen in The Power Within. I was like, because it was only like week 2. And the way that you were feeling, I had never seen that in a student. It was like you were so raw, you were so in it. And I remember I called on you and I was like, Amber, I was like, you're going next, right? And it was like the second week of us like doing healings. And the first thing that I thought of you was like, wow, this girl is not afraid to go there. I mean, think about like the setting, right? There was like 12 people. We're all strangers, right? We're all in this first semester Power Within class. Nobody knows each other. And your ability to go there was such an example for everybody else. Like, it's okay to go there. Like, look at what Amber is showing you, right? And then obviously that was the beginning of me learning and understanding who you were and like just how much you could feel and where you could go in like I mean, the vulnerability is just, it's pure power. So I'll just never forget you. It's just what I'm trying to say here. But yeah. But Anne had a different story because Anne didn't come in. And let me tell you something. Anne is the last student in all of Masters of Self University the university that didn't go through her first year of schooling. She just came in raw. She is the last student. You always have to go through a first year now, year 1 of completing that before you do the certification program. But Anne, you had none of that and you came in and jumped into the program. So what was that like?
Yeah, I feel like it was a long time coming and it was like me finally like biting the bullet to do it. But what drew me in was, once I had my like spiritual awakening, whatever, and I was going through bouts of like severe depression and highs, and I was like bouncing up and down for years doing that, and then listening to all these people, following all these therapists on social media, all these helpers, all these influencers, personal development, like spirituality, like everything, reading all the books. And I just kept seeing the pattern of like how there was a lot of information out there, but it didn't all connect, and it was also very contradicting, and it was also very confusing, so then I get lost in it. And so I was going through like a kind of a depressy episode ish again. And I was just like, I've exhausted all the other options that have gotten me out of this in the past. And I remember doing like a Lionsgate portal on 8/8 because I was like desperate. I was like, I don't even know if this is gonna work. And I was like, all right. I was like, I'm so desperate right now. I gotta get out of this rut. I don't know what to do. I was like, universe, send me something. Send me something. And so then a month later, Ellie came up on my Instagram, and it was just like one video, and I listened to it and I was like, oh my God. I was like, who is this girl? And then just like deep dove into her entire Instagram, and I was like, we're the same. We've gone through the same things. We're the same person. And then also just being like Korean, there's a lot of like relatability-ness and all that stuff. And so then, of course, she talks about Rachel and MSU. And so I'm listening to the podcast. And in the first podcast, Rachel just like hit truths that I was like, yes. I was like, this is what I've been looking for. Like everything connects, everything makes sense. Like all the puzzle pieces I'd laid out that I wasn't able to connect everything. I was like, this. And so then I got super excited about that. And then it didn't feel so alone, right? I'd go through these podcasts, I was listening and be like sitting there being like, yeah, right. Yeah, that's what I've been saying. Like, yeah. And I've just been like, I'm not crazy. I'm not the only one. So it was just like, and then it was just like that, like, oh, relief of like, I'm not the only one out here kind of thing. And I was binging all the podcasts, like the first 10, I think. And it talks about like behavioral, emotional, mental, and then also like learning how to drop in and connect to your heart. And so I was just like, I don't really know what that means. And I think I know what that means, but I don't know. So I remember like, taking all the information, like I wrote down all the programs of what I thought I was supposed to do. I didn't realize there was like I had to do the trigger first and then programs. And I just like wrote down all the programs, what I could tell from the podcast. And I remember laying in bed one time and I was like, all right, let's try this. And so I was like connecting to my heart and like what I thought it was. And then all of a sudden these two memories popped up of childhood, and I just started crying and bawling. And what I didn't realize at the time that I know now in hindsight was like I ended up doing like a shadow blueprint on myself without knowing it, because I kept going like, and I felt this because, and I felt this because, and I felt this because. And it was just like all of this had come up, all this unprocessed like emotions and energy. And I was like shaking uncontrollably, like convulsing in bed, just bawling, letting all this out, letting it all be felt. And I was like, it reminded me of like when you get served those Instagram ads of people doing breath work and like the retreats and the tropical places, and they're all like shaking. And, I'd watch those and be like, okay, yeah, right. I don't know. Then it happened to me. And I was like, oh my God. And I like came out of it, like my entire body was buzzing. And I was just like uncontrollably shaking. It was just buzzing, and it felt like everything was like running through me. And I just came out of that. I was like, what was that? And then I did that for like an entire month. And then I was like, okay, I'm good. And then it took another year for me to finally like decide. I just like listened to podcasts in the background, and I was like on such a high of doing this, and then like doing it for like a month straight of just like going into whatever. And then it was like this back and forth of, all right, do I try this coaching program out? Or for years now at this point, I knew I wanted to get into like mental health and therapy and like the ways that the system has failed me. And I was like, maybe I can make the change in the difference in that system. And I was like, and the more and more I learned, it's like, no, the system's not changing. And so going back and forth constantly between like, oh, going to be like a therapist, going back to school, or trying out the coaching program. And after like another year, I was just like, it's time, Anne. And I'm just like, I can sit on the sidelines and just watch them and listen to them all the time and think I can do this or want to do it, or you can just fucking try it. And I signed up for an intro meeting and like met like Ellie and Danny and Rachel IRL, which was a very surreal, weird thing. Just like getting to know you guys like virtually and just then meeting you guys in real life. And I'm like, oh, we're actually talking to each other right now. This was like so interesting. And then yeah, applied, went to the informational meetings and then started it. And here we are.
Yeah, it's very different. MSU from, when Ellie and I started, there wasn't a podcast. There was nothing to base, what we may thought the work was. Like, we had no ability to, listen to anything really prior, because we kind of came in right at the beginning, and so there was no preconceived notions. It was more of just yep, I hear Rachel. I hear what she's saying. I feel my soul just yanking me in this direction. Let's like jump in. But obviously for both of you, and it sounds like especially for you, Anne, you've been listening a long time and really digesting what we've been saying on the podcast and kind of when we've been sharing the work. You do your best to kind of think you kind of know what the work is, but it's very different listening to the podcast and then actually being a student, and then on the next level actually being a coach. So Anne, I don't know if you want to start with sharing like what that was like for you from listening to the podcast and then actually diving in. And then same thing for you, Amber, because you went through the process of, beginning the work as a student, and then having to make that transition into then learning this work as a coach.
Yeah, I came in thinking that I like knew. I was like, I get it. I know it. I understand it. It's been years. And so it was getting over that hump of like that degree of knowing, but not like really knowing on the energetic level, because a lot of the words that are used, like Rachel says this all the time, like language is limiting. Like we use the same phrases, the same words, like in the collective, in all these other modalities or people or the spiritual matrix or whatever. And so it was learning to let go of all of that, and then also having ego deaths about it, of course, and letting go of like the language part. And then also, as someone that has functioned so much from the mind, like getting down to like the feeling aspect of what the energetics behind these words are, and it's not what you think it is. So I will say the first couple months it was like me having an ego death about what I think I know because I was so confident in what I knew, because I'd pendulum swung, right? Because in the past, I'd be like, oh yeah, I don't know. And then coming out the other side, I'd be like, oh my God, I knew this entire time and I doubted myself. So I did the pendulum swing coming to this program of like, okay, I'm not going to doubt what I know, and then I like hung on to that, like trying to go through this. And then, yeah, so it was a really interesting process, and definitely not like more than what you pick up from the podcast for sure. And then on top of like, because the first couple months was like me going through kind of as a student and then going into the coaching aspect. And it was a definite like challenge to like learn how to do this work for yourself. And then on top of still learning it for yourself, running all these programs of, am I even doing this right? Am I doing this right? I don't even know if this is okay. Like all these things. And then also practicing and moving someone else through their stuff. And learning how to like, in the way of selfless service, like put that to the side, pull all your shit to the side to help move someone else through all their stuff. And then also in the moments where like you're not feeling confident, you're feeling like powerless or whatever, but you all have to guide someone else through theirs. So it was definitely a very like interesting experience going through it. And yeah, it's nothing. Yeah, it's just like it's really hard to describe. You just have to go through it to know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm there with what Anne said of like, you really don't know until you're moving through it yourself. And from being a student and then going into coaching, You really don't know. Even though I was as a student, I was like, "Oh yes, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to help people." And then you get into the MCO and you're like there's literally no words to describe what you have to actually become to be able to guide other people through their shit, because again, we call this warriors work for a reason. It's not some like motivational, let's help people. No, no, no. Like we are bringing people through the deepest level of their trauma. And so like to start off as a student, it really it really gave me another perspective on the coaches, because it helped me understand what they're actually doing. And even then, when I was a student, I couldn't even fully grasp it. Um, so it's been like a very, very, yeah, there's no words to be able to describe now looking back at it, when I'm a student, to be able to even grasp what the coaches do, because being a student, you are working through your stuff, right? You're mastering yourself. And then from what I've learned through the MCO, it's that on steroids, because you have to be able to really put your stuff to the side and like be present with people and help them and guide them, truly help them and guide them. And like you also mentioned, Anne, it's like I had to let go of everything I thought was how we helped heal people, because it's nothing like that. We're doing energetic work. So we're really feeling our way. Like it's all about feeling. Everything is about feeling. You can't think about any of this. And even saying that, I know that's even hard to grasp because it doesn't make sense. It's not the world that we live in where we feel our way through things, right? But that's how we heal at the deepest level. So yeah, like I don't even know how to end it off. It was wild, wild, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, if anyone has watched Star Wars, that it's the way the Jedi operate. You know, everything is about feeling. It's about getting the heck out of your mind. And yeah, when you have to do that as a coach, like that's a whole different ball game, a whole different ball game versus just showing up as a student and receiving the teachings. Like the beautiful thing about this work is you have to walk your talk.
Yes.
It's not like there's no hiding. You can't advance as this in this work as a student or as a coach if you're not doing it authentically. And that's why I love it so much, because it's the realest thing in the world. You can't fake it. You can't fake your energy. Rachel always says your energy never lies. Energy doesn't lie. So you can't fake your way through. You can't wear the mask, because this is what we've learned to do in patriarchy is, oh, I'm just going to get this certification. I'm going to wear this mask and say I'm this thing. And I took this quick workshop and now I'm suddenly a coach in the work around this, or I'm an author, or I can wear all these masks or list all my accolades. But at the end of the day, the level at which we operate here is at the energy level, and your frequency, your vibration, it doesn't lie. And so you've got to be ready as a coach. You got to be ready to take people into the parts of themselves that they've learned to hide, the parts of your own consciousness that you've learned throughout your life that it's not safe to feel this, or I'm not powerful enough to feel this, or this is too painful for me to experience, because of X, Y, and Z, because of our upbringing, because of our lack of divine parenting growing up. So I'd love to hear, like, what are some of the things that you were able to see within inside yourself that you had been hiding, or you felt like it was too painful to experience? Or what were some big kind of like breakthrough moments that this work helped you kind of unlock within inside yourself as you've been working at this energetic level?
Oh my gosh. I mean, there's so much when I really think about it, but um some of the things, some programs that I would run. Um, oh my gosh, there's like so many that are coming to me, but feeling like I was too emotional, that was a huge one for me. Because I struggled deeply, like just in the world that we live in with how deep that I felt. So not seeing that as a problem anymore was huge for me. Um, that one was probably my biggest one because, as you guys know, we've spoken about it before, how I would cry, literally at the drop of a hat. And then obviously going through the MCO, being able to move somebody through something without crying was huge. Um, a really big one that hit me hard was the misogyny programs that I run within myself. That one was really hard to see because I truly thought that as a woman, I wasn't doing that. Again, I thought I was thinking this, and then beautifully got my ass handed to me in the MCO when I had to see that within myself, and it was great because it's great in terms of like, oh, I can finally heal that, but obviously there's the part of it where you have to go through this death of that part of you. So I would say those were two of my biggest ones for me, that I can think of at the moment. There are so many, but those were the two that just really stood out right now.
Like Amber, like definitely a lot, because with this work, like you have to see all the programs within you, and a lot of them aren't pretty, a lot of them aren't fun, a lot of them you don't want to admit, a lot of them you don't want to see. I think one of the things that like really hit me hard that got me to open up to the work more was, I don't know, like admitting that I'm traumatized was like a huge thing for me, because I feel like in the very beginning when I would like look back at our earlier ones, like I it was really hard for me to admit that something was painful or something hurt, because it was very like, well, I'm not like, and especially it was like seeing all the ways that my mom had, like I still catch myself in all the ways that I've been abused, and I'm just like, "Oh, no, but that was just how it is," or like Korean culture, all these things, and I had minimized so much of my pain and hurt and trauma because I was always comparing it to other people and like, well, I didn't go through what this person did, and I didn't go through, like, my childhood wasn't as bad as this person, or this person, like, they've had it so much worse than me. So like I can't be that upset by it or hurt by it or like struggle as much as they are, and like they're allowed to, but I can't. And it was like actually like honoring the fact that like there has been a lot of abuse in a lot of ways, like verbal, mental, like emotional, physical, um and then also like honoring all the pain in it. And I remember specifically there was this one time like Ellie coached me through something, and she had said, like, "And you're allowed to be angry for what was done to you, and just because you're angry doesn't mean you're them." Because I pushed everything down because I was like, "I don't wanna be like them. I don't wanna be angry. I don't wanna be upset. I don't wanna be complaining. Like, I don't wanna be anything like them." And it's also funny that through the program, you learn how much you are like your parents, then you do that to your inner child. But I think that was like, yeah, that was one of the biggest things of like actually like feeling the pain and the hurt and the trauma, and not just on an intellectual level, because I was so good at talking about things, and everyone would be like, "Man, you're intellectualizing." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like I was so good at talking about the things that had happened to me, and like very nonchalantly, very like passively, whatever, or to even make fun about it. But it really took me to like feel all this pain, and then also it's like makes sense why I took the other approach, because it's like, how do I feel all this? Like there's so much in my 30 plus years of like pain and hurt, and like actually honoring it and feeling it to like the depths of the depths of the depths of it. But yeah, I think that was one of like the biggest like shifts of this, is like actually feeling.
Yeah, beautiful shares, guys. You know, it's so funny. Everything's divine, right? And so I remember when the certification was rolling out, we knew Anne was in. And then all of a sudden, one day an email came in and it was Amber's application. And we were like, we have two. And you guys are complete and utter opposites. Like, utter opposites, which is so divine because there was so much for, you know, I mean, the mirrors in there, right? So Anne's completely in her mind. That's where she's, you know, her intellect is what got her through her life. And here's Amber who can feel everything, right? So deeply. And so my questions to you guys, you know, as you're moving through your stuff and as you're seeing, like, so Amber talked about, like, in the beginning, she would coach and she would feel the client's pain and she would cry with them. And so it's something that you quickly will really work through that. But I remember you asking Fiori, like, is this ever going to stop? Is this something that I can actually stop? And she's like, yes, you will. And you did. And then with Anne, it was learning how to stop fucking thinking about everything because clearly, you know, intellectually, you're very smart, right? And it was about getting out of that. So my question to you is, because of what you had to learn, right? What was the most challenging part about now having to learn, moving through what you're moving through, learning and seeing what you're seeing and learning, and now you're going to have to start coaching people? Like, what were some of the biggest challenges that were, you know, in the frontal space when you started coaching other people? Because in the beginning it was you guys were being coached, and then it was like, all right, now it's time, which is a whole different ball game.
Yeah, like you had mentioned, I would literally cry every 5 seconds, and it wasn't an exaggeration on every single person I would coach. I would be in literally unable to continue coaching. And it was because I could actually feel within myself what they're feeling, and I had never been taught or even knew that we could actually put it to the side. So that was huge for me, like the biggest win of my entire life, honestly, being able to actually put that to the side and not like push it away because I had learned to really push it away. Like I really thought there was something wrong with me because of how much I cried, how much I felt. And it's what we're taught. It's like, so being able to really, really alchemize that and recognize that feeling is such a strength, um, I would say would probably be my biggest one, to be able to then feel what I feel and then also still guide somebody through it. Yeah, has been huge for me because that has like really, really affected me my entire life, not just coaching. Ever since I was a child, I was always told that I cry too much, I'm too sensitive, I'm too dramatic, I'm all of this. So that was like a wound I had to first really, really heal to then be able to even potentially coach somebody. So it was very reassuring being able to ask Fury because I was like, Fury, I actually don't know. I did have moments where I was like, will I ever be able to truly coach somebody? Because how am I going to help somebody if I'm there bawling my eyes out and they're trying to feel their stuff? It just isn't. Yeah. So I would say that was my biggest one for me.
It was like, it's like everything they ever demonized you for, everything they ever told you was wrong or bad is actually the true way of being, which it was like in the first time in your life where like, no, be that. Like,
Yes.
that's
Yeah,
nuts.
like, that's huge, like, you
Yeah.
described that perfectly, like, it was like, words can't even describe how big it was for me.
Yeah.
I really
Right.
thought my entire life it was
Right.
so wrong. So then to have a whole, like, awakening to the fact that,
Right.
"Wait, no, this is actually a strength,"
Yes.
changed everything for me.
And that's the inversion matrix we live in. This is literally the inversion of,
Yes.
yeah, you take the way that was supposed to exist in life and then you rip that away, and then you manipulate and brainwash and condition people to just be trapped in their mind and live only from their mind and their intellect. And then that opens the door for all of the brainwashing. And then, of course, when you as a being, Amber, who you're so connected to just functioning in this way, then you've, oh, I'm not supposed to be this way, the way that I am is wrong, then that's going to cause probably all these feelings of feeling trapped. And because you're not allowed to be who you naturally want to be in this world. Yeah, it's so sad. But
Exactly,
yeah, but that's what obviously what MSU is here to do, is to stand things right side up and turn this ship around.
And what about you?
Man, I'm trying to remember back when we started coaching. I remember it was like 2 months in, we were getting coached, and then Rachel's like, "All right, for you guys to coach." And I was just like, "What? I don't know." It was definitely, I feel like in the beginning I was just like open to and just like going with it, but like the mind always would come in because it's so interesting how much I've prided myself of being a very like logical, analytical, rational feeler. Like I'd always be somebody that was like, okay, can I be mad about this? Like, does it make sense for me to be mad about this, or am I being too emotional about it? Like I would always decipher my emotions in a way. Like once I started this journey, I was like, am I allowed to be upset about this? Am I allowed to be sad about this? So it was like really getting out of all of that and then just feeling, but I struggled to feel because of just all the years that I was not allowed to do that. And it's so funny, like when I was younger, I was incredibly sensitive. And then there was a turning point that happened sometime where like I was like, I can't do that. I can't be like that because then I'm not gonna survive. So it was just like years of not allowing me to feel. And then I had to feel. And it's so interesting, like with going through this with Amber, like I remember like Amber would cry all the time and I'd be like, man, I'm glad I don't cry that much or else I don't know how I would coach. And so then like, but now the flip has happened where like I'm crying through all these things and Amber's like composed now and I'm like working on how to not like, because now I'm feeling, and also like when I was coaching, I could feel the close. Like I'd be like, I can't feel too hard or else I'm not gonna be able to do this. So like there was still that like analytical, like trying to like figure out where I'm supposed to take them from the mind, because I was like, if I feel too much, then like I can't keep going forward. So like I felt like the half closed, but the irony is like you have to feel in order to guide everyone through this properly, but I could feel the half, like I would do the half and the half so I could like still function through it.
And before you started this work, were you aware of how much you lived in your mind? Like were you aware of that, or was it just from doing this work that you kind of started to have those realizations?
I think in a way both, but at the same time, I don't think I realized like the gravity of it because this world is run through the mind, right? Like for years, I was doing a lot of my healing was like mindset shifts, perspective shifts. It was a lot of that. So like, because that creates your reality, right? So like if you change the way you see something or perceive something, then the way that you view reality would change. So I spent a lot of years going about it in that way because I was like, oh, the way I've been like, I was like, I've been doing it wrong. And I was just like, oh, when I recognized that I came from like a scarcity mindset and like a limited mindset from like my parent conditionings, I was just like, oh, like I got to change the mindset. So it was a lot of like changing things with the mind because that's what we're taught to do in a lot of areas. But then going through the work, I like saw it more and more, because even when we would talk, like even in therapy, when I would talk about my feelings, like no one ever told me that like, hey, Anne, you're intellectualizing, right? Like no one was like, you're intellectualizing right now, because they hear you talking about your feelings and they're like, yeah, you're doing a good job. You're doing a
The
good job.
therapist didn't call you out for intellectualizing? That's so
Never.
surprising.
Yeah. And it wasn't through this. And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean I'm intellectualizing? I was like, I've sat with my emotions and my feelings more than I've ever in my entire life. And I'm putting words to them and I'm expressing them. I was like, what do you mean? I was like so confused in the beginning of like MCO. I was just like, I'm telling you how I feel. I'm telling you. And then they'd be like, no, Anne, no. I'm like, what do you mean? So I was like, yeah, like literally feeling things on a different level. And of course, like words are limiting again. So it's like if you know what I'm talking about. But yeah.
Yeah, it can be completely egoic, paradigm shattering coming into the MCO or just doing this work in general, because we build up these like false illusionary constructs within inside ourselves to block us from feeling the pain that we don't feel power enough to feel. And then you start to do this work and you're being challenged to now go and feel them. But as you mentioned, Anne, everything in society, a lot of the work out there, everything is reinforced to condition us to just stay trapped in our mind. You go into Western healthcare system and you're trying to receive help from a therapist. And I had this experience as well. I started therapy and I knew that I was really messed up. And all I did was just talk about my problems for a year. And never once was there any energetic guidance to actually feel what was in there. And that's how that system functions. And we've got to be willing in this work to completely shatter that. Whatever your idea of what you think you are, you have to be willing to let that dissolve, to die the egoic death, and then be reborn. Because a lot of what we've been led to believe about ourselves, it's coming from this separate mind level place.
Yeah. A lot of people don't understand. There should be a warning sign before you enter the doors of MCO of every mask, every costume, everything that you think you can pull or hide or place in front of you. You can leave it at the door. We're giving you a choice. Or you can come in with that and you will be fucking exposed for every single thing. It's like you're naked and you think that you're naked. It's like, no, there's more nakedness to go. And I don't mean that in a spiritual matrix way. I mean that in a literal way of like, you will see and you will be shown every single thing that is in there. And you have to be powerful enough to go, I take it, I see it, I own it, and I choose to do the work around it.
Well, yeah, and the beautiful thing about that is you may be in that position where you feel naked in front of the mirror and you're having to look at these ugly parts of yourself which you've hidden. But what you learn through this work is how to embrace that with your divinity, right? It's not like the experience of being naked in front of a bunch of people. That's super scary, right? That's a very vulnerable place to be. But through this work, you learn how to then be in maybe that what feels like a vulnerable place, but you're connected to who you are. You realize this false version of me, which I've been living out, I'm ready to bring it to light. I'm ready to expose it because the real me is ready to come online. And that when we have that experience of the real us coming online, that old you, it just dies off. It's ready. You're ready to go through that death, rebirth, transformational process. So I'd love to know, like, what parts of you have you felt your soul stepping more online since you've been doing this work? And we didn't start with this, but I just want to just let the listeners know, Anne and Amber are not like brand new to this work. We're in 2026 right now. That you took this certification every year, nearly a year and a half ago now. This was in 2025 when you began this work. For you, Anne, I know you've been listening to a podcast for a long time, so it's probably you've been listening to this work for years up until this point. But what version of yourself over the last year and a half have you seen yourself expand into?
Oh man. Like I would say more capable to move through the lows. I will say, like, going back to ego deaths, like that was probably like one of my biggest fears. That's a lot of, the attachment to identity was something that I struggled with for a very, very long time and was like the biggest reason for a lot of like my lows and like severe suicidality, of just like never knowing who I really was. And then every single time I've had an ego death, I'd like attached to the new identity of what I thought I was or who I was. Um, and going through MCO, you have a lot of ego deaths. um, and yeah, and it's the ability to like move through those better, I guess. There's not so much like flailing in a lot of ways. And even when I am like drowning in my shit sometimes, like there's this like inner knowing of like, just do the work and you'll get through it. Cause the most of the flailing happens because you're not you're not feeling what needs to be felt and you're trying to push it down still and you're trying to avoid. So like the depression that I'd go through or all these things, it's like, it was because I wasn't doing it. And so then it was just like, once you're just like, okay, you gotta just do it, and you just do it, and then you move through the framework of like what it is, and then you come out of it and you're just like, I mean, it's sometimes it's super painful, but you come out of it and you're just like, man, I should have just done that like weeks ago, months ago, whatever, instead of avoiding and pushing it through. But it's, I guess, like building that muscle of constantly doing that, because as someone that has procrastinated and avoided, and it still comes up, and the bypassing, it also comes up because it's like years of programs of that. But there is this like groundedness and solidityness of like, even when you think everything's like spiraling, blowing up in your face, all the things, that there's something to come home to within like the expansiveness of yourself and the power and the capability you have and the trust to be able to like move through this, even though you think you can't because your mental programs are going crazy, that like you can do this.
Yeah. I would say I'm pretty there with Anne in terms of being able to powerfully move through some of like the deepest, darkest places and emotions that you feel in this lifetime. Like, how can you not as well? For myself, just like experiencing the trauma that I moved through as a child, but then also just living in a patriarchal world, like there's a lot to move through. So learning and understanding and being able to sit with my emotions and then process them, alchemize them, and actually knowing how to do that was probably, I mean, is the most expansive thing that I've been able to do. Like I mentioned before, I struggled my whole life with feelings of depression, feelings of anxiety, and now realizing that I am not those things. I don't actually have to attach to them and identify with them. And it doesn't mean that I don't feel those emotions anymore, right? Like none of this work is here to never feel all of these deep, dark things anymore. It's actually recognizing that we are not those things. We can actually sit through them, move through them, embrace them, honor them, and remember who we actually are through all of that. So it's really helped me. This work has really helped me, like Anne said, like feel more grounded within myself, feel me, and be able to, like, no matter what comes through to me, I can sit with it, I can alchemize it, and I'm powerful enough to actually move through it.
Yeah, there's a distortion that we've all succumbed to, I'm sure, at some point, of thinking that enlightenment is just this place that we float off to and then we're good. We hit this place and then we never have to feel anything bad anymore. That's what it means to be an enlightened being. I always come back to it. I think about, Jesus walking up the hill with that cross and he's about to be crucified, like the most at that period of the time of Earth, like the most enlightened being on the planet. To think that he didn't have any bad feelings about that is quite ridiculous, right? But it's what you said. Do I have the power to move through the most challenging, the most incredibly painful experiences that this patriarchal world may create in your life? Do I have the power to embrace that, to transform it, to rise above it, to become someone new, to not hold on to those experiences, and really change myself from the inside out? I mean, that's what this work is all about.
Yeah. And you're so right, Amber. I think we forget that we're here to have a human experience. We're actually here to feel the rainbow of emotions, all of it. Fiore talks about, like, when we're back there, it's not like we're in the light and we're depressed. Like we come here to experience all of these things, but the key is that the patriarchy has conditioned us to attach to these things, right? And to believe that this is our identification. And in this work, you're like, no, you're not any of these things. They're here, detach from them, alchemize them, right? And don't stay there as the identification of I am depressed and all of these things, which is just at the core of it. We're on the path of sovereignty. We're on the path of truly becoming free beings, I have two questions, but I'll ask this one. you guys diligently came to the Power Withins. And for those of you guys who don't know, the Power Within is the first course you guys take. It's the foundational course at MSU. It's your first semester. And it's where us coaches, you meet us and we guide you through 12 weeks. You guys came to many of those things, right? And I always think it's funny because this work is not like you learn it and then the same expectation every time. And fuck no. Every class you go to, every person you coach, it's going to be different. You never know what's going to go down. You never know what route it's going to go down. You never know where they're going to take you. It's always going to keep you on the tips of your toes, right? And so, what was that experience like for you guys now? Because in the MCO, they were coaching coaches and Fiori was there, right? And then after that ends, is like, go now, go right into the ethers and go coach people, which is always, that's an experience to have, to be like, oh my God, here we go. So, what was that like for you guys to be in those Power Within and start coaching real life people?
The most humbling, eye-opening, glorious, like, experience, truly, because like you said, it really keeps you on your toes because there's no this isn't a typical like, oh, let's hear what is the problem and let's diagnose you with this and then that's the thing. No, like it's a whole different journey with every single person because every single person is so unique and their trauma is so unique and their wounding and their programs, it's so unique. So after the MCO and you just get in there, it's quite jarring, to be completely honest. It's quite like, oh, it's like you're like reborn all over again and you're a baby and you're doing this work. So it's again very humbling. I still am constantly humbled and I don't think it will actually ever end, I've realized, because you never stop elevating, you never stop growing, you never stop evolving. So it's like you will go through as a coach, you will go through a constant death of realizing, oh, I need to rise higher. And of course, if you're going to rise higher, that part of you has to die. So humbling to say the least. And then truly like rewarding to be able to now guide somebody through what you've had to guide yourself through, what you've had to guide others through. It gives you just a whole other perspective that we are really all deeply connected and we are all experiencing such similar things more than we even realize. So to be able to guide somebody through maybe something you've experienced or just guiding somebody through something, it reminds you, oh, like this is what we're here to do. This is what we can, like, what everybody is here to do, like to really help each other in a way. Yeah.
I was definitely grateful to be able to join the Power Withins and practice coaching there. And it was also like in the very beginning, like very like nerve-wracking in the like for a little bit, just because like it's not just the coaches, it's like actual other beings. And like, running the programs, oh, I don't want to fuck this up for them, or I don't want to do good by them and all these things. But yeah, it was so cool just because yeah, like everyone's different and you really don't know where it's going to go. And I remember in the very beginning when I was trying to like figure out coaching, I would like watch all these videos trying to figure out what the pattern was or what like how you're supposed to do this and how you're supposed to do that, and like just having it like go all out the door and truly like get out of your head and feel it. There's a sense of like when you hit pain points for people and you're able to put words to what they're feeling on an energetic level, and they feel that relief of just like the seenness almost and the understoodness, and then them feeling, uh, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is. But yeah, it's very rewarding, and I feel like back to like the whole oneness thing, I feel like most of us as coaches like have battled like not wanting to exist here anymore. And we see that through a lot of the people that we coach, and we also move through similar programs and wounds. So it's very like healing for everyone involved. It's like a beautiful space. And yeah, it was definitely so helpful for me to be able to practice on so many different people and move people through so many of their own things, and how like truly how similar we are with like the unique differences.
Yeah. And I think I can speak for all of us coaches. Like, we're so like happy that you guys are part of the team, and so excited to see, where we all grow together, and, how fast you guys are growing as coaches, as beings. It's beautiful. So somebody's listening to this, right? And they're like, okay, hold on. I think I want to join, but I don't know. What would you say to them? To somebody who's on the fence of wanting to do the certification program after being a year of being a student?
I would say, and I've said it before, but to really feel into that that nudge that you're feeling called to do it. If it's a very deep calling, I would say go for it. Give it your all and be prepared that it's nothing you could ever even imagine. Like there's nobody can describe it unless you're in there doing it for yourself and you're there experiencing it. There's really nothing else like it. And if you're willing and you're devoted to truly mastering yourself, I would 100% do it, jump right in and be prepared, because a part of the MCO is you have to see all those parts of yourself to then be able to guide somebody else through it as well. It's not rainbows and butterflies, but there are rainbows and butterflies. So it's like you get all of it. If you're willing and you're open to it, you get everything. You get the darkest parts, but you also get literally the most magical, mystical, beautiful experiences that I could barely even put into words. So I'd say do it.
Yeah, like I feel like there's nothing we can say to prepare you for it, but if you keep coming back to it, right? Like it took me a year and it was always something I kept coming back to no matter what. Like the mind will try to tell me otherwise, convince me out of it, whatever, all the programs. But if it's something that you just keep coming back to, there's probably a reason for that, and to like listen to that. And yeah, just, I can't even say be prepared for anything, because your journey, like I feel like all of us have like we have a similar experience, but at the same time, like your experience is going to be so unique to you, where yeah, it's like how do you just got to try it to know. Like you'll never know until you try it, right? Like for me, like you can sit on the sidelines and watch all the coaches do this, be in all the classes, listen to all the podcasts, try to do all the work, but like you'll just, I don't know, it's not something you can ever like be ready for, I guess. You become ready as you go through it. Like the becoming of the coach happens as you go through it. You can't become a coach from the sidelines. And yeah, just be prepared for, I guess, ego deaths, a lot of ego deaths and humbling experiences. And then also like the joy of feeling closer to who you are. And as you continue to like shed all the things that aren't you at a very rapid, like accelerated pace, just everything just blowing up. That's not you all the time, always. And just getting to the truth of who you really are faster and quicker. And then feeling how beautiful that feels to be like, wow, this is me. That's not me. This is me. And the more you continue to do it, as you guide other people through it and you heal through yourself and them, like, yeah, it's a beautiful experience.
So, for anyone listening to this who is interested in becoming a coach, the minimum requirement is to have attended MSU for at least 1 year, to have completed your first year curriculum. So the first step is always coming and joining Ellie and I and the rest of our team for a free student enrollment meeting so you can start to learn this work. Once you move through your first year, it's then you can apply to take the even take the certification. So I just want to make that super clear for anyone listening. This isn't something you could just jump into right away. You have to become a student first. You have to learn this work for yourself, and then you can apply to actually become certified as a coach. So if that's you, if you're in that place, come join us for a free student enrollment meeting, and we will see you in the next podcast episode. Thank you very much for listening this far.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, Annie and Amber.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.